Okay, so welcome back to the soap dragon. Now this soap isn't what you think it is. I must start with that. This is not food. Something I've had problems with the licensing system is you can't have a soap license that looks like food right now. Although a number of the other soap makers I follow, they make cupcake soaps, they make cake soaps. So yeah, aggravating that you can't officially have something that looks like food, but you know. So this is a checkerboard soap that replicates the Battenberg crest, which may or may not look like a cake, with particular elements that look somewhat cake-like. So I've already made half of the soap. So I've made the I can't remember which side I'd already made. I've already made the yellow side of the grid. So that was just half a batch of soap. Just poured into a mould and then cut down. Did that off camera because it's boring. So yeah. So here I'm making another batch. This is my Shea butter soap because it's more forgiving and it is ideal for making soap dough, which I'll need for the finish. So I'm stuck watching this video again, but my computer is lagging, so I don't know timings. I don't know if I'm exactly dead on or not. So I'm not going to even try and get timings right, so I'm just going to talk through the process of making this soap. So, so obviously having made half the soap already, so that's ready to go, and I'm working, this is kind of a 3-day soap, because you need the first day to do the first half of soap, the second day to actually build the next bit, the third day to wrap it. So it makes it a more kind of involved soap, and I've actually done a ridiculously involved soap for next month, which uses the same idea, the idea of making colour blocks to put into soap and make a checkerboard. That one doesn't come out quite right, but yeah, overcomplicating the idea. So this looks okay, but I made a fatal error. When I cut my prepared soaps, my first half, I actually cut the bar in half. So you didn't have a super long piece, you had kind of half a loaf's worth of bar, which was fine for the first layer, you just stick it in. But when it came to laying on the next layer, the bar got caught under the other piece of the bar and pushed down, so it lost, it fell off, it fell down, so you didn't have that perfect line. So that's something I learned for the next checkerboard soap, but then with the next checkerboard soap I didn't cut the bar straight. So yeah, we have one extreme or the other. So it was a great idea for a soap, with added madness. What I've also done is on the top of the first bar, or the first pour, I've dusted some pinkish, kind of peachy mica. Because there's something that when you look at a Battenberg, there are other people that do Battenberg soaps. Eden Secret does a Battenberg soap, but she makes the coloured pieces first and then pours the kind of marzipan layer around them, or kind of lays them in the mould. But what she has is like a window. She has the frame going all the way around both parts. But if you look at Battenberg, it's not like that. What you've got is a grid of sponge wrapped in marzipan with a layer of jam in between the sections. So by layering on the mica on top of my pre-made block, and then again when I pour this, it should look more like a jam join. Yes, it looks more cake-like. So I'm making this more cake-like, which is a bad idea because it shouldn't look like food, but never mind. So it's a really quick kind of measure, pour, go kind of recipe, because I've got the kind of the hard bit. I thought I had the hard bit done, but when it comes to layering in the grid pieces, it's a little bit more difficult. But what I did first was with the other half of my second batch, Right, so first batch became a block that was cut into pieces and left to the side wrapped in cling. Second batch is a full batch. Half of that gets poured off, coloured orange, and put to one side. The other half stays a natural colour and is poured into a Swiss roll tin lined with cling film. Now I had an idea that I would be able to unmould the grid, lay it on top of that flat sheet and just roll it over. Didn't work. Because I forgot the whole process of making soap dough is you have to kind of break the structure of it. You have to knead it first before you use it. So that added a little bit of difficulty to this process. So what I ended up doing was essentially just kneading it and moulding it out, which is not a problem. Not a problem. But it just added that extra bit of fluffing about, and I didn't keep that part of the recording. I'm sorry you didn't want to see that. It looked awful because I could kind of make plates of the soap, but when it came to actually gluing them on, they were too far cured to glue on their own, so they had to be broken up first. So yeah, so I poured a layer which was natural coloured soap for the quote unquote marzipan, and then we moved on to the next bit, which was, yeah, it should have been easy. It should have been so easy. Put the blocks in with the mica turned sideways, so it's got the mica line in the middle of the bar, and then pour soap in, another layer of mica, and then another layer of soap pieces. In my head it worked. And at the beginning it worked. But then gravity had a hand. So I like the design and I'll redo it. Not as Battenberg. I'll use different colours, I think, so it's not clearly Battenberg. As it is, this is orange and yellow, and it's lemon and orange scented. So it's not... it shouldn't smell like Battenberg, shall we say. So it should just be citrus scented. I was tempted to do... I could have got a... not Battenberg. A Bakewell scented fragrance oil. But it contained a lot of vanilla, and the colours wouldn't stay true, because vanilla is notorious for discolouring. So I was very tempted to use that, but having thought about it, I thought probably not the best idea. So, not knowing where this video is at this point, I'm assuming that by now you can see where I'm placing the second layer of soap bar in. You can see it's pushing the other half down, which is aggravating. This is another case where I should have split the batch completely and done made up a quarter batch, poured that, let it sit for a little bit, and then put the next layer on. Which again would have been more time, but it would have been a better outcome if I'd just waited for the batches to kind of set a little bit before adding the layers on, so they were stable, and not cutting the big bars in half. I cut them in half because it would be easier to trim them down with the stuff I've got. Which is why I decided not to cut them in half in the next checkerboard soap and cause issues in that way. So yeah, it's a learning experience. I like the soap, but only half of it comes out neatly. The other half is a little bit off centre. So what I've done when I wrapped these, I've wrapped two different styles, and I've marked the seconds as seconds, so they will be slightly cheaper on eBay because they're seconds essentially. So those that come out perfectly will be normal price, and those that are off centre with a bit of a wiggle or whatever will be slightly cheaper. I could have priced them all the same, but I didn't want to do that because I thought it not quite a success, so it wouldn't be fair to then price them the same. So I think, working on averages, we should have seen that part by now. We should now be on to the wrapping. So I've cut out most of this. The wrapping took longer than the actual making of the soap, including the day before. So yeah, I couldn't wrap straight from the tray, so I've essentially grabbed a handful of it, mashed it together, given it a really good knead, and then rolled it out. So between cling film, and I'm trying to reuse the cling film as much as possible, because it seems to work better with soap dough if you're reusing cling film. So yeah, I'm just rolling this out, and I can get about kind of 2 sides covered on a good kind of handful of dough. So it's not rolled out too thick, it's only about 3 or 4 millimeters thick in the end. And I'm just using a touch of water just to hold it in place, essentially. I probably should have put the water on the soap dough and not on the soap, but anyway, I can't remember what I did. So yeah, just adding the wrapping kind of helps it to, or adding the water helps it to glue, essentially, because soap dough and water, they kind of bond nicely. So yeah, and I've wrapped it all with cling film just to kind of help it solidify. So I left it, once I'd done the wrapping, what did I do? I left them unwrapped, essentially. I wrapped it, rolled over it with a rolling pin, just to kind of even it out and take out some of the bubbles. And then I left it unwrapped with just a towel sitting over it for a couple of hours before I cut them. And unfortunately I've lost the cutting footage. Very sorry. But I'll put some photos up. So yeah, this is my not Battenberg soap. You can't call it Battenberg because it's not food. So it will come up again in a slightly different guise, so different colours maybe, just to make it a little bit more interesting, I suppose. So yeah, that is the second soap for April. If you remember to look on eBay, look for Vic's Wordsmith is the seller name I go by on there, or on my blog, the dragonshed.blogspot.com or .co. I can't remember. It'll be in the links. Will be in the description. So yeah, and remember, key workers are still getting a 20% discount, and will do for the rest of the year, at least.